The invisible weight of deception, how lies affect your energetic being. Take a moment to reflect how many untruths have passed through your lips today. Perhaps you think none, but deception wears many masks. It hides in half-truths, in strategic silences, in the gentle bending of reality to suit our comfort. Now consider, how many truths have you hidden from yourself? Every thought we generate, every intention we nurture, creates ripples across the fabric of existence. Lies aren't merely words floating into nothingness. They carry weight, substance, and energy that continues to influence our reality long after they're spoken. Today, we'll journey into the subtle realms where deception meets energy, exploring what happens at the most fundamental level when dishonesty enters our field of existence. Throughout human history, across diverse wisdom traditions, words have been recognized as vessels of power. In ancient Egypt, speaking was a sacred act of creation. The Norse believed in the Golda, magical songs that could alter reality. In Vedic traditions, mantras were understood to shape consciousness itself. Words don't simply describe our world, they actively participate in crafting it. Aldous Huxley once noted that words form the thread on which we string our experiences. But they are more than organizers of reality. They are generators of vibrational frequencies that ripple outward into the universe. Words are like crystals dropped into the cosmic ocean, sending waves across dimensions. Each syllable creates patterns that, depending on their authenticity or falsehood, either harmonize with universal rhythms or disrupt them. Contemporary research in psychoneuroimmunology is beginning to validate what ancient wisdom has always known. Our words affect our physical biology. When we speak, we create sound waves that interact with our cellular structure. These vibrations influence our nervous system, hormonal balance, and even genetic expression. Have you noticed how your body responds instantly to certain phrases? When someone expresses genuine love toward us, we might feel warmth spreading through our chest, a lightness in our being. Conversely, when we hear words of rejection, we often experience physical contraction, a tightening in our solar plexus. Now imagine what happens when these words are our own, and when they contradict truth. The physician Gabor Mate has extensively documented how denial of our authentic experiences creates physiological stress that can manifest as illness. When we lie, we create internal dissonance between what we know to be true and what we express. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research on epigenetics demonstrates that our perceptions, including the stories we tell ourselves, directly influence our cellular function. If we are 60 to 70% water as physical beings, consider how the vibration of deception might distort our molecular structure, much like sound waves disrupt water's crystalline patterns. Words emerge from consciousness, and consciousness shapes matter. We are not passive observers of reality, but active participants in its creation. The quantum physicist Werner Heisenberg noted that what we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning. Our words form these questions, and through them we shape our experience. The forgotten dimension, lies, and the space-time continuum. Here's where we encounter our first unique revelation. Lies don't merely affect our individual energy field, they create temporal distortions in our personal timeline. Indigenous Australian Dreamtime traditions understood that falsehoods create what might be called time knots, points where our life energy becomes entangled rather than flowing freely along its natural course. When we deceive, we essentially split our timeline, creating parallel tracks that require energy to maintain. The track of what actually happened, and the track of what we claim happened. These divergent timelines create what theoretical physicist David Bohm might call a fold in our implicate order, a crease in the fabric of our personal reality. Each lie forces our consciousness to maintain awareness of multiple versions of events. This fragmentation of attention creates energetic leakage across these timelines, drawing vital force away from our present moment awareness. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it can be to maintain a complex deception? This fatigue isn't merely psychological, it's the energetic cost of maintaining multiple timelines simultaneously. Eastern philosophies speak of the Akashic records, the energetic archive where every thought, word, and deed is recorded. In this understanding, our words aren't temporary vibrations that fade, but eternal imprints on the cosmic tapestry. When we speak truth, we align with the natural patterns of this tapestry. When we deceive, we create distortions in the pattern, anomalies that require rectification. In Taoism, this alignment with truth is called following the way, living in harmony with the natural unfolding of existence. However, when we distort reality through deception, we create resistance against this flow, forcing energy to move unnaturally around the blockages we've established. The word sincerity comes from the Latin sine cera, without wax. It refers to ancient sculptors who used wax to hide imperfections in their work. True sincerity means presenting ourselves without such masks, allowing our authentic nature to be seen. Deception is the wax we use to conceal what we perceive as flaws. The quantum entanglement of deception. What modern physics now confirms through the principle of quantum entanglement offers another profound insight into the energetic implications of dishonesty. When particles become entangled, what happens to one instantaneously affects the other, regardless of distance. Our relationships with others operate on similar principles. When we exchange words with another person, we create an energetic entanglement. This connection persists beyond the moment of communication. When those words contain deception, the entanglement becomes distorted, creating what mystical traditions have called etheric cords that drain rather than enhance our vitality. These distorted connections act as open channels through which our energy continues to leak long after the lie has been told. Like quantum particles maintaining their mysterious connection across vast distances, our energetic body remains linked to every deception we've created, continuously expending force to maintain these artificial constructs. Throughout history, words have been associated with spellcraft. The very term spelling hints at this connection. When we arrange letters to form words, we are, in essence, casting energetic patterns into reality. The ancient Norse runes were not just a writing system, but tools for affecting consciousness and matter. The mystic traditions across cultures recognize that language isn't merely a tool for communication, but a bridge between worlds, the seen and unseen, material and spiritual. The Kabbalah teaches that the Hebrew letters themselves contain creative power, with each having specific energetic qualities. When we speak with conscious intention and truth, we activate these bridges appropriately, allowing energy to flow between dimensions harmoniously. However, when we deceive, we create what esoteric traditions call glamour, an illusory veil that distorts perception and blocks spiritual sight. The ancestral burden of untruth. Consider this remarkable insight from transgenerational epigenetics. Our patterns of truth or deception may be influenced by ancestral experiences encoded in our very cells. Research on descendants of trauma survivors reveals that stress responses can be inherited through epigenetic markers, changes in how genes express themselves without alterations to the genetic code itself. Could our tendency toward truth or deception be partly influenced by such inherited patterns? Ancient wisdom traditions certainly believed so. Many indigenous cultures practiced truth-telling rituals specifically designed to clear ancestral lines of deceptive patterns, understanding that dishonesty created burdens carried through bloodlines. This perspective invites us to see our commitment to truth not merely as personal virtue, but as healing work that extends backward through our lineage and forward to future generations. When we choose radical honesty, we may be releasing patterns of deception carried in our family systems for centuries, a profound energetic liberation that extends beyond our individual lifetime. Every human is surrounded by biofields, complex energetic structures that extend beyond our physical form. These fields, often referred to as the aura in esoteric traditions, interact constantly with the fields of others and with collective energetic patterns. These biofields aren't abstract concepts but detectable phenomena. Scientific instruments can now measure aspects of these electromagnetic emanations from our bodies. Research at HeartMath Institute has demonstrated that our heart generates electrical fields that extend several feet from our bodies and change in response to our emotional states. When we speak falsehoods, these fields immediately respond. The coherence between our heart and brain rhythms, which can be measured scientifically, becomes disrupted. This disruption creates what energy healers describe as tears or turbulence in our auric field, allowing for energetic leakage and vulnerability to external influences. The 6 dimensions of deceptive impact. Another unique framework for understanding the energetic consequences of lying involves recognizing that deception affects us across 6 distinct dimensions simultaneously. Physical dimension, lying, triggers stress hormones, increases heart rate, and creates muscle tension. Over time, these physiological responses can manifest as chronic pain, compromised immunity, and disease patterns. Electromagnetic dimension. Our measurable electromagnetic field becomes chaotic and incoherent when we deceive, creating interference patterns that disrupt optimal functioning. Emotional dimension. Deception creates emotional dissonance that blocks the healthy flow of feelings, leading to emotional numbness or volatile emotional states. Mental dimension. Lies fragment our thought patterns, making it increasingly difficult to access clear cognition and creative insights. Chronological dimension. As explored earlier, lies create temporal distortions in our personal timeline, fragmenting our experience of past, present, and future. Spiritual dimension. Deception separates us from our essence, creating what mystics call soul fragmentation, parts of our consciousness dissociating from the whole. Understanding these 6 dimensions helps us comprehend why the energetic consequences of dishonesty feel so profound. They literally affect every aspect of our multidimensional being. In energy medicine, the throat chakra, Vishuddha in Sanskrit, governs communication and expression of personal truth. When we lie, this energy center becomes constricted, creating blockages that prevent the free flow of life force throughout our entire system. Over time, these blockages can manifest as physical ailments, thyroid issues, laryngitis, neck pain, and even dental problems. Modern medicine increasingly acknowledges the mind-body connection. When we lie, our autonomic nervous system responds immediately. The sympathetic branch, our fight-or-flight mechanism, activates, releasing stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Our pupils dilate, heart rate increases, and blood pressure rises. This physiological response occurs whether we're telling significant falsehoods or small white lies. The body doesn't distinguish between magnitudes of deception. It simply registers the dissonance between known truth and expressed falsehood. Prolonged patterns of dishonesty create chronic stress responses, keeping our nervous system in a state of hypervigilance. This persistent stress weakens immune function, disrupts sleep patterns, and contributes to inflammation, the root of numerous chronic illnesses. The energetic disruption of lying extends beyond physical symptoms to our emotional landscape. Each deception creates what could be called an energetic debt that must eventually be balanced. This manifests as subtle anxiety, decreased confidence, and emotional numbness, protective mechanisms to avoid feeling the dissonance we've created. These emotional states aren't simply psychological but energetic realities with tangible effects on our vibrational frequency. As we continue patterns of dishonesty, our emotional body becomes increasingly dense, requiring more energy to maintain its protective barriers, the spiritual consequences of dishonesty run deeper still. Many wisdom traditions speak of spiritual ecology, the understanding that all actions create ripples through multiple dimensions of reality. Lies create what Buddhist philosophy might call negative karma, not as punishment, but as natural consequence. When we deceive, we fracture our connection to what Plato called the good, the true, and the beautiful, the fundamental aspects of divine reality. This separation from our spiritual essence creates what mystics have described as the dark night of the soul, a profound sense of isolation and meaninglessness that stems from disconnection with our authentic nature. In our increasingly interconnected world, we must understand that deception doesn't affect only the individual. When we lie, we create distortions in our shared energetic field. Each interaction involves an exchange of energy, creating what Martin Buber called the I-thou relationship, a sacred space between beings. Deception pollutes this space, creating invisible barriers that prevent genuine connection. We might not consciously register this contamination, but our energy bodies recognize it immediately. This explains why we often feel uncomfortable around someone who is being dishonest, even before we consciously identify the falsehood. Trust is not merely a concept, but an energetic bridge between individuals. When this bridge is built on authentic communication, it creates a resonance field where both parties can flourish. However, deception corrodes this bridge, requiring both individuals to expend additional energy to maintain connection across damaged pathways. The collective implications are profound. As social beings, we exist within numerous overlapping energy fields: families, communities, organizations, nations. When deception becomes normalized within these collective fields, the shared vibration becomes increasingly dense, making spiritual clarity and evolution more difficult for everyone within that field. Historical periods of collective deception have preceded cultural collapse, not merely because of practical consequences, but because the shared energetic field became too distorted to sustain coherent social structures. Conversely, movements built on radical truthfulness often demonstrate extraordinary resilience and transformative power. The Sufi mystic Rumi wrote, "The truth was a mirror in the hands of God. It fell and broke into pieces. Everybody took a piece of it and they looked at it and thought they had the truth." Our individual perceptions are indeed fragments of larger truths. However, intentional distortion of even our limited perception creates ripples of disharmony. Yet there is profound hope in this understanding. If deception creates energetic distortion, truth has the power to heal these rifts. The process begins with self-honesty, the courage to face our own internal landscape without flinching from what we find there. This healing journey requires compassionate witness of our own patterns without judgment. Carl Rogers observed that the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. This acceptance includes acknowledging where we've been dishonest with ourselves and others. The practice of truth-telling literally reorganizes our energetic structure. As we release deceptive patterns, our auric field begins to repair itself. The constriction in our throat chakra eases, allowing energy to flow more freely throughout our entire system. Physical symptoms often diminish as this energetic alignment improves. Emotionally, we experience what truth traditions call lightening, a literal decrease in the density of our emotional body as we release the weight of maintaining falsehoods. This lightening manifests as increased joy, spontaneity, and creative expression. Spiritually, truth-telling reconnects us with our divine essence. As we align our words with reality, we create coherence between our individual consciousness and universal intelligence. This alignment allows spiritual insights to flow more readily into our awareness, accelerating our evolution and expanding our capacity for wisdom. The path of truth transforms our relationships as well. As we practice radical honesty with kindness and compassion, we create spaces where authentic connection can flourish. The energy previously used to maintain deception becomes available for creative collaboration and mutual support. This individual healing influences collective fields. A single person committed to truth-telling raises the vibrational frequency of their entire social network. As more individuals align with authenticity, collective fields shift toward greater coherence and evolutionary potential. The ancient Greeks had a beautiful concept, parrhesia, speaking truth from the heart with courage, clarity, and compassion. This practice wasn't about brutal honesty that wounds others, but about alignment with deeper principles that honor both truth and relationship. As we conclude this exploration, I invite you to consider, where in your life might you reclaim the energy currently invested in maintaining deceptions, however small? What truth is asking to be acknowledged? What might become possible if you allowed your energetic field to align fully with authenticity? The journey toward vibrational integrity through truthfulness isn't always comfortable, but it leads to profound liberation. As we release the distortions created by falsehood, we discover what spiritual traditions have always promised. The truth doesn't just inform us, it transforms us, sets us free, and connects us to the infinite power of what is real.